So we got a pretty straightforward job to do for the morning here. Just a dead fir tree that the community wants taken down because it could potentially come down if it's got root rot or something. It's a pretty big fir tree, so we don't want it to fail and go into one of these houses. Anyway, I got to trek back here in the woods and show you where it's at. It's not that one. It's the whole top is dead, but when you're looking at it from the ground close to it, you can't tell. It's right there. So here's the tree. It's the biggest one out here to climb. So it's hard to tell, but the top's all dead up there, so you need to cut it down in here. Here's the green belt area. We don't have any room to fall it, really. We got a creek over here, and these trees are kind of blocking us anyway from us just putting it right through there. So it has to be climbed. We're gonna get all hooked up here and start climbing up there. So instead of taking a 201 with me, because I had to trek back in here, I'm just taking the 261, and that'll allow me to just limit out and chunk it almost all the way to the ground rather than having to come back for another saw because I don't have anybody with me. So just taking a mid-range saw up with you will save you some time and effort, and pack an extra bottle of fuel, you know. So take a Gatorade bottle, put some fuel in there, and some bar oil. Then you don't have to come back down until you're completely done. And so anyway, I'm gonna get up there and start getting going. Fight my way through the brush here, get to this thing. Gonna kind of talk about using your lanyards, your steel cores on bigger trees. This isn't huge, but I mean, it's still a pretty decent sized tree. The bigger your tree, the more you'll have to use this technique I'll show you to climb. So obviously sling around, you just sling your lanyard around this thing. There we go. Okay, so what I was going to show you guys is, as you're climbing bigger trees, you can't just flip your lanyard up by going like this. You can't just grab it and flip it up like this. You can do that as you start to get on smaller trees, but the bigger ones, you need to use a technique of flipping the lanyard like this, right? So what you have to do, and you'll see it in the older videos with guys climbing really big trees, you need to tighten your line up on one side, whether you're left or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so I tighten my line up to the right like this, pull all the slack out. I'll kind of tilt the camera down here. I pull all the slack out of the line, and then I flip it like this. So I pull it out, I flip it. So if you're left-handed, you do the same thing on this side. You would flip with your left hand. So you see as I go up, I'm gonna point the camera down so you can see. I'll tighten the line and I'll flip it. Tighten it, flip it. And that's how I go up bigger trees. And it's really important on trees 2-3 times the size of this fir. You have to use this technique. There's no other way to get up the tree. You have to kind of roll the line around the tree as you go up. All right, so here we go. Tighten, flip it. Okay, so let's do it again. This is about right for my distance away. You have to have a little more slack in your line than you normally would. So I'm gonna spike up, tighten, flip the line. Tighten a little bit up, tighten, flip the line. See, just like that. Tighten, flip it. You have to be very careful though on this technique, in that you have a good position with your spikes in the tree. I've had it where I've gaffed out doing this flip, so when you pull yourself in like this, I've slipped and gaffed out, and when that leg comes out, you'll go down and try and stop yourself. You grab the tree or hug it, and you'll end up tearing skin off your arms pretty bad. So be careful that as you bring yourself in, your angle is not as good with your spikes. So when you're in like this, your chances of gaffing out are far more likely. So you need to be quick about getting good position, pull yourself in, tighten up, flip the line. Okay, I'll start going up so you can see. Another thing you guys need to be real cautious of is as you advance up a tree, you're gonna have these spikes at times, whether from a broken limb or maybe you don't cut the limb fully off because you're trying to keep the log section from rolling. As you spike up a tree, don't be flipping your line and trying to go up in front of one of these spikes, because if you gaff out as you pull yourself in tight to the tree, you're going right on top of the spike and you could end up dying. So position yourself to the side of those, right? If you can't break them off, position yourself to the side and go up in case you gaff out. So now this technique isn't as critical, right? I can almost just flip it up without having to tighten my line and roll it. But as you're trying to get around limbs or bark that's stuck out from the tree, you absolutely have to use that technique of tightening and rolling it. See, I just bypassed all those limbs. Okay, now I can start flipping this line up without rolling it. I'm gonna get my second lanyard out and start going up further. Always have a second lanyard on you when you're going up trees, especially these really tall fir trees. Now you can just grab both and flip them up. It's kind of hard to roll both of them. You're better off waiting until you get to a point where you can take both of them and just flip them up. All right, so I'm gonna start the saw and get headed up this thing. I'll start recording once we get to the top. So we're kind of at the top. I'm not gonna go all the way up there because I wanted to show you the method of wedging tops over. Good rule of thumb is just don't take big tops unless you absolutely have to, but there are times where you need to. Okay, so I'm gonna show you here how to go about doing that. First of all, take a look at your lean. Is it lean to the left, right? Is it lean back, forward? Look all the way around the tree. Okay, this one's relatively straight up and down. I don't know how much wedging I'm really gonna need to do to get it over. The goal is to get it in here to the right. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and put my face in because it's not lean back. If it was lean back, I would do a back cut first. So I'd cut this tree up about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way in. And then I would come in with wedges, put my wedges, set them in the back cut. So I'd pound wedges in, not real hard. You don't want to start making this top go before you get the face cut in. So you just set those wedges and then start making your face cut, keeping an eye on that hinge wood. Make absolutely sure you don't cut that off. Then make your Humboldt or conventional, whatever you choose to do, and start tapping your wedges in again, and that top will start leaning over. Okay, so for this one, I don't need to do a back cut first, but I'm just gonna do it anyway, just so you guys kind of see that process. You need to gun your back cut with your saw and bar so that it goes where you want it to go. So you're kind of aiming with your back cut before you even make a face cut. Then with your face, it's the same thing. You need to be gunning to make sure you're not cutting this hinge wood off on either side, then come up under and take that ply out. So let's get started. I'll make the back cut first here, put some wedges in. A good tool to have on you is a hammer. Okay, I've used axes up in the trees and I just don't like them. I don't like having the blade facing me as I'm pounding wedges. In case I slip or gaff out, then that could go right into your face or into your body. You just don't need an axe really in the trees anymore. You're better off carrying a hammer like this. It's a lot safer. And it goes right into your belt loop onto your harness. So easy to keep track of and a lot safer. So let's get the back cut in. Use a spot that doesn't have a bunch of knots. You don't want knots in that hinge wood. You want it to be pretty clean. So I'm seeing a spot here that'll be good for that. One wedge for this one, but others you might need more. Just tapping that in, I could already see the back cut opening a bit. It's already lifting the tree. That's not even hitting it real hard. So now what we need to do is get that face cut put in. So I'm going to pound this over and we should get it in here. Okay, I think we're good. I can see the tree is leaned out in the direction I need it to go. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna pound any more wedges. I can just double up, and I'm gonna trim at this hinge just a little bit from the inside of the face. See that? Remember, certain trees don't have the hinge wood capability as a fir that pull slivers like this. So keep that in mind. Cedar tree is not going to do that very well. If it's leaned back, you can overcome it. But if you have lots of side lean on like a cedar tree top, don't try and cut that thing and think it's going to rotate 15-20 degrees or more with like scissor wheels and stuff. They just don't do it because the wood is not as flexible as a fir tree. Fir trees are used in, you know, construction and building houses for the reason there's wood is strong, right? The wood is strong. Whereas cedar, if you do this with cedar, it'll just break right off. But look, these slivers, I'm leaning all the way down 90 degrees and they're still holding on there. It's not what you're gonna have with a cedar or a alder tree. So just keep that in mind. Don't try to overcome significant side leans on those trees with wedging, because you're probably going to end up having a disaster. All right, we're going to head down. We're going to chunk this thing to the ground and then we'll be done. So we got the tree chunk down to where it needs to be so we can follow the rest of the stem over. We got a small saw to do that with. It's a 562. Really, for something this big, you should have a 32-inch bar, something like that, which I could go get that saw out, but I figured I might as well just cut this up just to show you kind of how to do it with a small bar when you don't have that convenience of those larger saws. So what I'm going to do, make my face cut here, flat cut first, and then I'm not going to move my feet, and you'll see as I go to swing under, I don't move my feet at all. Let me kind of point the camera down here. When I go to swing under with the saw here, as I'm making that flat cut and I pull the saw out, I leave my feet exactly where they were as I go to swing under. The reason for that is if you move your feet at all, you adjust your position as you pull your bar out of that flat cut, you're going to throw yourself off and you're going to forget where that point is on the other side of the tree. So it's critical that when you go to pull that bar out, that you remember where that bar was pointed on the other side of the tree and then swing under without moving. And you'll have far more of a chance of hitting that point on the other side than if you reposition yourself, then swing under. And you'll see what I mean here. I'll try and talk to you as I'm cutting so that
A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them.